Well, hello, the two of you. How you feeling? You're on mute. Unmute yourself, Jen.
Thank you for asking, Dave. So first of all, you get two for the price of one.
Well, it's always a bargain.
Yeah, and I am better. I'm still in these weird phases, but I am better. So that's the good news.
And I'm in barrettes now.
Yeah, I had my 12-year-old daughter and my wife trim up the sides over the weekend.
Looking good.
So I'll take it. It's at this point, it's whatever you got to do. If you saw my brother, you'd be like, you should be glad you have hair. And the answer is, yes, I am.
Yeah, exactly. I have the same kind of brother.
So how are the signups going?
For tonight, we've got 9 that did the surveys early, which is good. We'll probably try to sneak a couple more in, but that's probably what we'll settle close, because that's 90 minutes of feedback for sure. So
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. I mean, this is typically a long night of pitches, right? So you get what you get. So
what do you do with them, Dave? It's just that one of them just really attracts you. What do you do with it?
I haven't invested in any yet in these cohorts, because they're super early, but there's always, out of the from every cohort so far, we have had usually one team goes on to raise $500,000 within 6 months afterwards. That's pretty much the norm. So, and then we're starting to see, that sort of, then they get into a Techstars type program or something like that.
Yeah,
that's pretty standard. Admit. I won't have the default set on having wait in the waiting room. That just doesn't work very well. Well, I'm glad you're both feeling better, John. That's awesome.
Thank you. It is a very weird illness. I don't recommend it for anybody.
No, for sure. For sure. It's always interesting to see how people have upped their home office game. Right? So it's always the perpetual, like, hey, do you have the virtual background, or that sort of thing. Yeah. Hey, Ethan, how are you? Ethan's on mute.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, how are you?
Folks. Yeah, how are you?
I'm well, thanks.
So Ethan, what's 396?
Oh, what's 396? I'm a roller derby referee. And my ref name is Leviathan. 396 is the number of pages in John Locke's book Leviathan, because I'm a dork.
I love it.
That I would have never guessed any of that.
Yeah, my daughter plays roller derby, and she and I are big Hamilton fans, and her number is 818, which is the number of pages in Ron Chernow's book that inspired the hit musical.
I love it.
Well, you're consistent as a fan.
Yeah, well, the nuts don't get real far from the tree.
That's true. That's true.
That's great.
So I'm curious for your guys' feedback while we wait for people to come on. I'm getting ready to kick off the next cohort. We're going to rebrand, but kicking off the next cohort in July 1st. So we're going to go July through September, or July through December. 6 o'clock doesn't really matter anymore, because everybody's working from home, and who knows that it will matter in the fall. So I'm thinking of either 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I'm also thinking of running it in 2 time zones. Hey, Brett. So I thought I'd get your anecdotal feedback on 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Does it matter? Do you care?
4 is a little early, I think,
Okay.
for other folks that are on something approaching a normal sort of work shaped schedule.
Okay.
Like 6 was great when I had to kind of budget in travel time and so forth. I bet you could probably eke it in with 5, but that would be obviously a question to, A/B test.
Yeah, for
As
sure.
a single parent, a solo parent, it's hard to do the 5 o'clock for me because of dinner time.
Is 6
So,
better
like,
or is 4 better?
6 is better for me because in that way, like, I will have fed my son by then. That's my personal, I guess, a single parent.
Why I'm asking. So I know that I'm usually cooking dinner about that time now, but dinner seems to go at 7 now.
Yeah.
Mostly because my 18-year-old isn't up until like noonish.
Oh, wow.
He's the graduating class of 2020, so he's in that group of 2020 graduate asterisk.
Right.
And we're hoping he's going to school in Boston in the fall.
Oh, nice.
It's all about, I say this, but I can't even get through it without laughing, Dave. It's all about the school and the education and the name. It's not about being on campus.
Well,
Okay.
at least that's what the tuition bill is for darn sure.
Yeah.
Right. English 101 at a community college is far inferior to English 101 online in
Yeah,
Boston.
he hasn't said no to the state schools yet, but Boston's interesting, right? Because it's one of those ones, it's super expensive, and if you're gonna have to work from your dorm room or at home and turn around and fly back home to do it, that seems kind of weird.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hanging in there, thanks. Ready to go out and ride my bike outside again.
Yeah. Are you not riding?
I'm riding mostly Peloton right now indoors. So
Yeah.
I took a little air out of my sail because the ramrod got canceled. Everything got canceled, right? But
Aw.
the benefit of training was I knew the ramrod was going to just kick my ass. So it's, for those of you who don't know ramrod, it's a ride around Mount Rainier in one day is the acronym.
I think if you do ramrod right, it's going to kick your ass anyway.
I did it 2 years.
I think you should give them a little more detail on that, Dave. Isn't it an 80-mile ride with 11,000 feet of elevation change?
It is 11,000 feet of elevation change, but it's 154 miles.
154 miles. What is it?
Halfway.
So,
Yeah, Don, I think it's pretty much just like Chili Hilly. Is that roughly the Chili Hilly?
exactly like Chili Hill. You ride around Bainbridge.
Hey, Dave.
A little higher, a little lower.
Just
Dave?
like that, Brett.
Hey, Dave, this is Stuart Davidson, Revitus, and we had Ron Cody was going to be our presenter. Somehow he does not have a link for the meeting. Would it be possible to get a ID and password for him to log into? Because he's our presenter.
He can send him the one you just logged into and he can log in. So I sent them all an email to everybody before.
Okay, so let me
There's an
take
email
that, get him on there.
registered about 10 minutes before this went off as well.
Okay, I'll forward that. Hopefully you'll be able to get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No worries. I'm just hitting the admit button. I won't use that feature again.
Yes.
I just got an email with an invite.
I love the power of mute. All right. Well, we'll be going here in just a couple of minutes. So
Hey, David, so for July, is it going to be virtual or is it going to be?
it's going to be virtual. We'll do, and I'm like I said, getting some of your guys' feedback as far as start times go, but it'll be the first Wednesday of every month. I'm also going to do one in the mornings for morning our time, for East Coast time, and for, believe it or not, Middle East time. We've had a bunch of folks ask, hey, you're only going to do Pacific time zone. So the answer is, I'm actually going to do the same day, same program, one in the morning Pacific and one in the evening Pacific. So it's one of those where if you miss one, you can do the alternate.
Okay.
But folks for and the international stuff. There's about 1,200 members on the meetup group now.
Okay.
A lot of them weren't from Seattle, so figured that since that was the case, we would just make it roll that way.
Nice. What time you thinking of starting? In the morning?
The mornings will probably be 9 o'clock Pacific because it'll be noon
Eastern.
and then that's 7 p.m. Cairo time.
Okay.
So it'll be 9 and probably 5. So in fact, I had a few comments from a few of you before everybody jumped on, but just wanted to ask a time check question. Like, we could do 4, 5, or 6. We definitely had somebody weigh in around like, hey, if it's 5, I can get my kid fed before. But if it's 6, it's probably a little too late, or 4 is probably a little too early. Anybody else with a weigh in on that?
Let's do a poll.
What's that?
Let's do a poll. I mean, maybe not in this one. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, no, I can do it.
Yeah, send a poll to folks who usually join. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll totally work. It'll be more scientific than my random stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Minda, how are you? Oh, Minda's on mute probably. So, and I see Gary Rittner's there.
Javier, I'm trying to see your great background. Is that it's like Dr. Seuss books all around you?
No, it's from Senpei. It's a kind of a comic illustrator.
Oh, fun.
Javier, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well, thanks. Excited to kick off and get some pitches tonight. So, all right, so I added a question in the poll. Let's see if it'll let me launch the poll now. Poll 1, edit. All right. All right, 5 minutes after, we'll get started here in just a minute. I'm going to send you all just a poll. Thanks, Arun, for asking it that way. I think one of the things, so everybody knows, we're going to start the next cohort in July. So we're going to start July 1st. It'll be the first Wednesday of every month. We're going to do, I'll be doing 2 sessions. I'll be doing one noon Eastern, so 9 a.m. Pacific, so I can accommodate some folks in the Middle East, in Cairo and Bahrain and Lebanon who wanted to participate, though Lebanon's pretty tough from an internet perspective. And then the Pacific Coast time one, I just sent you a poll about should it be 4 p.m., 5 p.m., or 6 p.m. So I know it's it's better scientific than usual, but at least better than anecdotal. So, but happy to get your feedback, and we'll make that announcement on. It'll go out probably tomorrow. So, all right. Well, KidSap team, thanks for joining us. It's been good for everybody. We've had it's been quite a way to finish. So I've never delayed one before, switched to virtual, everybody's virtual. We did this pitch event recently with a bigger audience than this one. So we'll, we're all learning the technology pieces as well. So thanks for joining us and being flexible. So tonight, the way from an order of show tonight, I'll walk you through, introduce you to some of the mentors. Most of you have met most of them in the in-person stuff in the past. We're going to do pitches. I have an order based on the survey. So if you didn't register early, I know some of you registered late, past noon. If you registered early today, you got an email last week, you got an email yesterday, you got an email today, all saying, hey, fill out the survey so I know how to do pitch order, because it's hard to do pitch order in virtual. So I also sent it out in the Slack channel. So if for whatever reason you didn't get it, you were either not on the email list and hadn't registered in time, or you weren't on Slack. So I try to do belt and suspenders everywhere I can to make sure I covered everybody. So we've got 9 pitches that filled out the survey. I'm going to go in the order that they were submitted in. We'll have time to do a couple more pitches as well, but 9 pitches gets us through about 90 minutes if we're super tight on the feedback. So we'll get through some of those too. So if you are not registered, to give you the quick list here, I do not, actually, let me just share my screen with you. and you'll see the list. So for those of you who have a pitch deck, we're going to work from your pitch deck. I'll allow you to share the screen, and you can go in and just share your screen. We're going to do 5 minutes of pitches and 5 minutes of Q&A. You'll see the order here is Will LLC, VR Ulysses, Ladybox Boatzilla, Purposely, Tide House, Revitus LLC, Realityverse, and Music Scene International. If your name isn't not up on that, and for whatever reason you didn't get the belt and suspenders communication, you can text me or just chat me privately on this. Let me hit admit here for a few more folks. So chat me privately, and I'll do the best I can to accommodate, and we'll try to get you all on. So with that, let me hit the admit button here. We got a few other folks joining. Make a few introductions. Dan Kihani is on the line. Dan is a great friend, probably one of the best B2C marketers in Seattle, where I'm super comfortable with B2B. Dan and I were chatting about a deal I was working on last week, and I'm like, they were showing me their cohort analysis and their marketing spend relative to B2C and conversion ratios. And I'm like, for me, it gives me anxiety because it's like throwing me in the deep end of the pool with no floaties. For Dan, it's the same way I feel when you talk about enterprise stuff. So Dan was the founder of My Points Reward in San Francisco and took the company public and sold it. So thanks, Dan, for being here. Super glad you're here.
Happy to be here.
Next up, Katie Chase. Well, I saw Minda checked in already. Minda is running a new early stage venture fund called Front Row. Minda's been
First row.
What's that?
First row. Somebody else took front row. We're first row.
Sorry, I was going off memory. So
Okay.
Minda actually came to the first 6-month startup, the very first one 3 years ago, and has decided to change her career from being a founder to being an investor. And we're glad to have a founder-friendly person on the venture side of the table. So Minda, thanks for joining. Super glad to have you.
I'm really glad to be here. I am such a fan of this process and how it develops founders. It's awesome.
Awesome. Next, I'm going to go to the Kitsap side. Brett Eddy is our organizer for the Kitsap side and is a serial entrepreneur as well, and doing consulting right now on buy-side M&A work. And thankfully, I know he's not joining us from the San Francisco office where the background is from today, but in Paulsbo, right?
That's right. It's I'm dialing in from Paulsbo, but did the commute for 20 years, and the views are nice. They just don't look like this.
Nice. Yeah. Well, there's big buildings in Paulsbo. So speaking of big buildings in Paulsbo, Elena's here from Vibe Cowork. She moved back from New York to kind of come home to raise a family and open Vibe Cowork. So I know for those of you that are over in Kitsap Peninsula, it's an awesome co-working space. So Elena, thanks for joining us as well.
My window views are legit, Paulsbo.
Oh, see, like that.
that is bad.
Next up, I'm going to do Javier Soto, and Javier has an awesome background of design. Javier runs Grubstakes and is a super active angel investor, a great mentor in town, and just glad to have you on the call, Javier, as well. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
And Javier is the master of the cheat codes for Zoom, by the way. So you don't have to unmute yourself. You can just hit your space bar and talk and let up on your space bar. I learned that from Javier last time. Let's see. Chase. Chase is one of our great mentors over in Kitsap as well. Chase, thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate it. Glad to have you. Gary Rittner is here from Puget Sound Venture Club. Gary's one of the early stage angel groups that you have a chance to hang out with and connect with. Gary's been, gosh, I think I pitched my first, I've pitched my first company to Gary in 1998. So Gary's been doing this a long time for Puget Sound Venture Club. Gary, thanks for joining. He's on mute. Katie Chase, are you there as well? Katie's been a great mentor. Katie and I worked together at Startup Weekend. She has been a great product person, is now working in the HR field. So Katie, thanks for joining and being a consistent mentor for us as well. And I think Nick from WTIA hasn't joined us yet, but I know that he is. He's finishing up another call. So he'll be joining as well. And then just kind of the last shout out on the sponsor side, the Perkins Cooey. And I'll do a follow-up with you all If you need office hours, virtual office hours, I know we'll get it set up there too. So one quick note on, there's a poll open. If you just joined us, there's a poll open on where to start the next session on July 1st. We'll run July through December. So just asking a poll question for you there about what time should we start it. I'll close that poll here in just a couple minutes, but thanks for weighing in. All right, so with that, Will LLC, do you guys have your slide deck ready to go?
Hey, Dave, can I beg to go fourth? Sorry, one of our advisors is jumping on at 5:30. Would that be okay? Or I can just jump right in if you have
Yeah,
to.
let me know when they're there, Brandon. I appreciate it. And let's go with VR Ulysses. Are you all ready?
Thank you.
VR Ulysses. Yeah, awesome. All right, so quick note for everybody. I'm going to put you on a timer for 5 minutes, and I'm going to virtually clap you off the stage at 5 minutes. So still, please stay on that time because I want to give you as much time as possible to get mentor feedback. But I'm not going to let you go over, do the 6 or 7 minute thing because I know that it's super important for you, but everybody's idea is really important for them. So I'm gonna virtually clap you off the stage. I can always take back control of the screen from you, but I'd rather not do that. So so I'll virtually clap you off at 5. Okay. Tom, you ready? Tom, unmute yourself, please. Let me unmute you. Unmute now. There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Restart the timer.
I'm ready to go if you are.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Tom Malone, and I'm CEO of VR Ulysses. The world is turned upside down with coronavirus. Conventional systems are being challenged. Business strategists have to navigate radically unfamiliar waters, and their data are unfathomable. But Ulysses can help. The problem I'm solving is that data volumes are growing exponentially, and it's impossible to grok in tabular format. Data scientists are scarce and expensive, but business strategists need access to the meaning in those data now more than ever. Our product is Ulysses, our virtual reality data exploration environment that is designed to give our target customers, the data analysts, the marketing strategists, the cybersecurity manager, the insights that they're seeking. One of our first customers, a logistics company, loaded up their own data that they live and breathe daily. They immediately saw a lane segment that was losing money. It jumped out at them in Ulysses where it had never been clear to them before. Why is that? It's because our brains are wired to interpret 3D visual data. In fact, we do that 3 times faster than a 2D plot, according to a recent study. When immersed in your data spatially, VR lets you visualize clusters, see trends and outliers easily. You can then share visualizations with customers or leadership. And we're creating an in-app communication platform to enable teams to collaborate and strategize. Whether you measure our playground as part of data analytics, BI, or specific verticals such as cybersecurity, we are addressing massive markets. The VR market itself will grow to 50 billion by 2024. But the big question is, what part of that will be used in business applications? Gartner's been asking that about VR for some time. Last year, they forecasted that by 2022, 25% of enterprise will use VR for data visualization. Partly that is because they see VR emerging from the mainstream into productivity, as shown on their hype cycle. And that was before coronavirus forced us all to adjust to working remotely. Now more than ever, teams need to gather virtually to collaborate around their data. And the timing is good because the cost of high-performance goggles has dropped to true affordability, even as performance has made them comfortable and highly responsive. Ulysses is built on the Unreal gaming engine, so compelling video graphics are easily available. The UX looks like a bathysphere, where the user configures her data in a console and then dives down into the data. The X, Y, and Z axes, the color, the size of the data point, and some mathematical overlays are all configurable. And then the user dives into what we call the cube. She then uses handheld controllers to navigate, select data, export, or collaborate. Here is a little video that'll help you understand.
In the age of technology, finding meaning in your data really shouldn't be this hard. Here, try this. Go ahead, look around. That's your data in virtual reality. Now you can fly through your data, see clusters, trends, outliers, analyze your data to get the big picture from any angle, all with a mere gesture. Ulysses Virtual Reality Data Explorer, now available on Oculus and Vive.
We make money both by offering a monthly subscription and through consulting with our customers and partners. We're just now live on our site, offering a free trial beta version of Ulysses. Our first customers were demo, so pre-revenue, have reported gaining insights that were not available to them in 2D. So we know the Ulysses offers a unique advantage. We have a lean team that has created Ulysses, and we're now joined by Wayne Jones, former IBM Watson VP of Customer Engagement. We have a clear roadmap, adding features as we engage with customers and hear their input regarding functionality that they want. We're aiming to build traction over the course of this year, and we have revenue milestones that will be supporting upcoming funding rounds. The timing has never been better for VR to help business navigate these tricky waters. VR Ulysses is transformational, perfectly poised to disrupt how we all view our data. So here's what I ask of you. First, please give Ulysses a try. If you don't have a Vive or an Oculus Quest, contact me. Second, if you know of a developer in the Unreal game engine with experience or C++ experience, please introduce them. And finally, if you're interested in investing, please give me a shout. Thank you very much. Back to you, Dave.
Nicely done, man. Way to kick us off. I love it. Okay, so by the way, everybody, so you know, I'm recording this. I had a number of folks who asked if I would record it so they could view it later because they weren't going to be able to sit in. So it's there. It'll be up for 30 days. And if you want to so you don't have to take notes on the comments and feedback. You can get them later if you need them. So a few comments. So good slides, great flow. You were just under 5 minutes. So like rock solid way to kick us off. I think one of the things I would do is it's implied in VR Ulysses as you go into data visualization, but I think I'd anchor that at the very front to give context and say, we are connecting VR with data visualization. So you get 3D, like bring that to the very top of your story. So that people are like, oh, now I have context of how I listen to it. So it's implied, and I don't like implicit, I like explicit, because it frames for somebody already. It's like, oh, well, if I invest in the enterprise space and in VR, that's the consumer space. So connect those dots for me. I think that would be helpful. I personally like the word grok, but some people who are not science fiction fans won't get it. So regretfully, you have to dumb down to your average. So I'd say stay away from that. And I'd probably stay away from words like transformational. I think when the investor, when your audience says, holy crap, that's transformational, you're like, yeah, thank you, right? But I think, but avoid where it feels like it's an embellishment, right? Otherwise it's self-aggrandizing. So with that, I'll hand it over to with the other mentors, Javier or Minda. Do you guys want to weigh in? And I'm going to call on you mentors as well to weigh in as we go. So otherwise I'll get too many.
Yeah, I remember talking to Tom in the month that we were there, where he was really talking about how to explain succinctly what it is that this does. And the video really helped me. And I agree with Dave, like pulling forward sort of what is this and connecting the dots between, you know, the VR and what it is and how it's used. That can be, I think you've gotten a lot closer. I think you can get like super tightened up. And then the other thing was like, it looks really cool, but I didn't see the connection to business value driven like super clearly. And so it's you know, the vitamin pain pill sort of thing, like how, you know, what is the actual experience of getting value and translating that into, you know, an insight or something like that? Is it that it's faster? Is it that it is that you're able to find something you never would have found before? And why isn't something like machine learning or AI applied on this a better solution? Like what are the sort of other things that are emerging technologies that could also have been applied? And how does this sort of do it better? So looking for really that connection over to business value to be clearer for me anyway.
Javier?
Yes, I would double down on that one. Trying to understand exactly how do you go from users of data visualization tools today in the enterprise to jump to this VR solution. Number one. Number two, clarify a little bit more. It's like, it seems like a very cool and very complex solution. How long does it take someone to become proficient? One thing is to use Tableau, 5 minutes and do stuff. The other thing is the goggles and the things, and Minority Report looks very complicated. And the third one is, if I look at the thing in a very simplistic way, product development, customer acquisition, I think that the biggest risk is in the customer acquisition, because VR has had a lot of timing risk associated with it. So more visibility about the demos and their conversion and how the funnel looks like and what is your go-to-market. All those things can ease the perception of risk on the side of investors, I think.
Good questions, yeah.
And I'll type up my notes for you all when I'm done, when we're all done with these two, because I think I've got some other notes I'd add. But I think differentiation, to Javier's point, and as well as like help. This is a meta topic for everybody. Help me understand what the feature, the benefit is to me, and why I'll use it. You may, all of us as founders have that stuck in our head. We're like, well, it's obvious, right? But I want you to move from implicit obvious to explicit. Like connect the dots for, it's kind of like if you ask investors to do math in their head, they will do it wrong. So you always want to do the same thing for features and benefits. It's like, hey, listen, I'm just going to make sure it is completely clear and I'm going to be explicit about it. So, all right, next up, Ladybox. All right.
All righty.
And I can hear you, so you're ready to go. We're ready to go when you are.
Okay. I am Aljalyn Sperber, the CEO and founder of Ladybox, an organic period care and comfort subscription box, helping to make periods feel less of like a pain and more of a gift. So there's the problem of 30% of menstruators feeling, actually 92% of menstruators feeling pain during their periods, and 30% of them missing school or work due to these painful periods. So having a box delivered to them that has organic pads and tampons that help prevent any links to cancer or reproductive harm, and provides this element of having a gift delivered to them during a uncomfortable time of their month, helps to transform those periods from to yas. The way that we are monetizing this is through a subscription model. We have different terms: monthly, 3 months, 6 month, and 12-month terms. We also have different levels of basic to a pampered and Ladybox, and we also provide a first period kit called the Little Ladybox. So why is this helpful, and how is this going to transform periods from to yas? We are delivering products, organic period essentials, that help menstruators feel safer and healthier about the items that they're receiving during that time of the month. We are delivering convenience so that it's on their doorstep and they don't have to go to the store if they forget materials. And there's the surprise and delight, that whole gift and feeling like treasured during this uncomfortable time. That's what Ladybox helps provide. Right now, we shipped our first box in February of this year. We have 150 subscribers, a churn rate of 9%. The average length of the subscription is 85 days, so almost a 3-month term subscription. And that's based off of monthly all the way to annual subscription terms, and an average revenue per subscriber of $91.60. To acquire these customers or subscribers, it's cost about $21.48 per acquisition, and we've had a return on ad spend, ROAS, of 2 to 1. We've also gotten press coverage, so there's traction there, featured in the Ketsap Sun, a local newspaper, and then also on national online news, talking about how Ladybox is the top subscription box. Who is this for? It's for menstruators that care about literally what they put inside their bodies. they shop at Whole Foods or Sprouts, they have experience with other subscription boxes. There's also the gift givers, the men who want to gift their partner with something like this, or the grandparents or parents that want to send a care package to their college student. So if you think globally of adult women in the world or menstruators, there's 3.81 billion. And then when you look at the United States, there's 108 million adult women that are menstruators. Then currently, based off of the coastal states that are the majority of the customers that we have right now, there's a serviceable sum of 38.6 million. And we could penetrate that, probably about 1 million of that in like 5 years or so, probably longer. So competitive advantages, we customize the box based off of flow, based off of the preference of between pads or tampons, and their symptoms and cravings. It's not just a one and done, here's this box, it's based off of you. We have full cycles for it. So it's from first periods all to menopause, all the way to menopause. That's why it's called Lady Box and not period specific. There's also non-toxic and then the subscription component to it. Right now we have me as the CEO and founder, Joshua Schwartz, who has over almost 10 years of business operations working with Jamba Juice, and then Stephanie Nash, who has 7 years experience in digital marketing, working with top consumer product brands. By June and the end of June this year, we will be on Amazon in their subscription portion of their e-commerce platform. And we will also launch the menopause box during September for Menopause Awareness Month. Then we'll have the big holiday gifting push in Q4 and scaling to pregnancy, postpartum, and at the end of 2021, would like to work with a fulfillment center. We aim to ship over 20,000 boxes by Q2 of next year. And with the 1.5 million that we are seeking, we can build a team to help operate the business and scale it, and then obtain office or warehouse space, and as well as boost the digital presence. So moving from CrateJoy to a Shopify or even our own backend to better track subscribers and to even scale our presence online and help with search engine optimization.
Josh, 5.5. Let me give you some basic comments from me.
Okay.
And then I'm going to kick it off to Katie and back to Minda, because it seems the most appropriate audience for that one. And you've heard from Chase and Elaine already. So love the fact that you have some data, love the fact that you have, you've got ROAS numbers and spend numbers and some averages, and you can start to tweak those. And what I next want to see is I'd like to see some trend analysis in that. Is we started here and this is where we're going. I'd also like to just see some margin numbers and percentages. So give me some data around margins and percentages, because it puts some, regardless if you're the audience and the customer, we normalize around a set of data that helps me understand if your startup's going to make money. So with that, Katie, I'll push it to you.
Thanks. First of all, nicely done. This is really cool in lots of ways, and so much need on, safe, amazing product. So a couple thoughts. One, I love the phrase menstruators. That is so great and just levels the field, and is both inclusive and, leaves out gender in a way. It's just like people who experience this. Let's talk about those people, not gendered people. And I also really hear the convenience piece. So a couple thoughts that came to mind. One, I would have liked to hear about how you handle being discreet. Getting a package to my place every month that has big lady box written on it sounds a little intimidating, maybe. So just a word about, like, here is in what ways we're conscious of people receiving that. Also on some slide, there was written HHI. So just for what it's worth, you lost me for a few minutes because I was trying to figure out what that meant, and I don't really remember what the rest of the slide said. But in particular, also, I love that you have customers that you're already shipping boxes. That's so awesome. I mean, it's also just such a vote of confidence for you that you're not like designing in a box and you know you have the perfect thing. Like, no, you're shipping. But when you said like the average length is 85 days, I would have loved to hear your learning. Like, here's why we know they fell off. Here's how we got them back. Here's the percentage that we could get back. Like, I felt like you missed sort of a trust building opportunity about how you learn on the fly at the end of experience. That you just could have built so much rapport to say like, we launched a cool thing, it went pretty okay, and then we learned and we still won. And I just have one more note really is that I have a feeling that you're including, but I didn't really hear anything about sort of social justice outreach, right? Like homeless women have this just insane need for safe products. And so any word about like, you know, here's a percentage or here's how
I
we
have kids that go
homeless
to high school students in need in Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just like, you know, here's how we're serving an even bigger social justice need, I also think would be a great plug. Nicely done.
Mindy, can you give us another minute or so?
Yeah, you bet. So again, I appreciate that you are doing something for a market that you know has been treated in a really sort of traditional sense, and you're taking a fresh approach to it. So for me, when you started out, you were first talking about pain, and I thought your product was going to address actual pain. And then it clearly shifted over into sort of the organic messaging. And so then, and I heard a couple of other things like that they wanted to feel safer and healthier, the gifting. And so the value proposition sort of shifted for me. And then I started to wonder a little bit more about how you did that discovery process. How did you learn that the idea of a gift and delight was something that fit this particular part of a person's life, and that feeling safer and healthier was your, you know, like that this was the best way to deliver on that value proposition, and convenience being another one. So I would have liked to have known a little bit more about the personas, because the market size being very top down is interesting, but I would like to know that you really understand your customer, kind of to Katie's point, like what did you learn for them, those early subscribers? And so I'd love to see that like depth of understanding and empathy with the customers, the personas, and what they want. And I especially would love to hear a story about how you learned and discovered something new, because your ability to generate insights is going to be part of what makes me really want to bet on you as the person who can carry this off. And one other sort of note is that you talked about press as being traction. And I would really just encourage you to decouple those ideas, that getting press coverage is great and it's nice, but it's not the same thing as business traction.
Well, PR is marketing channel that happens randomly. So when it happens, it's great, but you can't forecast PR as a predictable channel like ROAS, right? So think of that as like, and then good things happened along the way. That's great, but it's a vanity metric otherwise. All right, I'm gonna go to Brandon for Will LLC. Brandon, do you wanna share the screen with us?
I will, thanks, Dave.
You bet.
Can everybody see the screen?
We can.
Perfect. All right.
Ready when you are.
Okay, sounds good. So earlier this year, everyone knows that Kobe Bryant passed away accidentally, and it occurred from a rare helicopter crash. And his family and him were most likely not prepared. Or wait a second, was he? So news actually came out recently that his wife found a letter where he had a written letter that shared some of his love to his wife. So in her case, she was kind of lucky. But how about the rest of us? Hi, so my name is Brandon Ah, and I am the founder of When I Leave, or AKA Will. Thank you guys for giving me an opportunity tonight to share this story and also talk about a startup that I've been thinking a lot about for literally 20 years or close to. So in 2001, my twin boys were born, And shortly thereafter, I started thinking about all the issues around responsibility and things like wills and life insurance, et cetera. And I even thought to myself, like, what would my sons get as far as my words or thoughts and things like that after I passed? And unfortunately, if I passed like Kobe Bryant, would they be able to hear a lot of the different stories or anecdotes in my life that might help them in life? Well, shortly thereafter, actually a few months after, all of us witnessed something that was one of the worst tragedies in history. And when that happened, that really emboldened me. And I vowed to make When I Leave happen. So as we all know, despite having a great idea, unfortunately, Dave would probably ask us to figure out what some of the issues are around that problem. And so would my friend Che, who basically would ask me over and over, which he's done in the past 3 months, what's the pain point? And so what we did is, spend a lot of time talking about it and thinking about it. And these are the three that basically we thought about, which was life is really uncertain as far as the end. Legacy and words are actually getting minimized in life. And also dementia and Alzheimer's as an issue for memory loss is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. And there's a lot of signals that as we list off to the right, but because we're, kind of limited on time, I won't go into too much detail of it, but we do believe we have something that we're going to be able to solve. And so my team and I came up with a solution, and basically at the standard level, we're going to make this product free. And what that's going to be is basically you get 3 messages that you can choose with 3 recipients, and you'll choose 3 trustees who will tell us when basically you pass. And when that does happen, these messages actually will be delivered. And there'll be a lot of other specifics beyond that that will occur as we develop the product more and more over time. And speaking of Dave again, he asked us to do surveys, and what we did is we actually surveyed a number of people. I can give you the full numbers later on. We kind of went well beyond the numbers that actually he asked for, and we actually found that a lot of them actually would value this product. And on top of that, we found that a good number of them would even be willing to pay for it. And so we found that there is a market, and we believe, we'll be able to test it out once we do actually finish our MVP, which will be about end of July and early August at this point. We also researched all the different industries that perhaps we might be able to take a little sliver of. And you can see that there's some large numbers here that potentially, that people are basically focused around end-of-life services. And so we feel like there's a pretty decent market that we'll be able to take advantage of. Also, Dave asked us, and I'm sorry to keep on referring to Dave, but he did point out that we need to figure out a nice business model, and this is the one that we chose, which is basically a freemium model. And our survey results actually show us that people are willing to pay up to about $40 a year for a service like this. And so if we do the math, and I know that we should probably do all the math for you guys here, but it turns out to be some pretty strong numbers, and I'm happy to address those in the questions later down the road. And we also have a higher premium level, which we can talk about even in more detail after the presentation. Now, one thing that I've been very lucky to do or lucky to have is a network of great friends and people that I've worked with. And frankly, we have a group of people, a few of them on the call here or of the WebEx here tonight. And they've been helping me, and I've been building that network, honestly, much longer than 20 years. And so I have an incredible team that's supporting us. I even calculated what 1 month's worth of value of just a few of them was, and it was literally like $132,000 to almost $400,000 worth of value. And they've been helping us this past month, building that out. On top of that, with timing, you can't beat the timing, unfortunately, for some people, but for us, fortunately, basically mortality is on the minds of more people than ever. In terms of going to market, we have some really interesting strategies, we believe, in addition to even these 3. But we feel like if we, partner up with some really strong nursing homes or perhaps, retirement homes, and also a lot of you probably don't know this, but I'm a search marketing specialist. So actually digital marketing is in my blood. And honestly, I feel like I'll have this advantage over a lot of other businesses. And on top of that, we believe there are some celebrities out there who might be able to help us expand the market even more. So with all that said,
I want to wrap you up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, these are the questions or these are the asks that we have. And, if you guys
end on the one that is the screen that's going to stay up there the longest. So that's perfect.
Okay,
so,
awesome.
A few notes. So one of the things I've seen a couple in this space, Brandon, to try to do around this market. One of the things that is a constant theme, and I know in my own personal experience, is some people don't want to talk about it. So I think you've taken the angle on it that's interesting, which is a positive spin versus the end of life checklist, even though the end of life checklist is like super necessary. So good on that, but I want to nail that message up at the very front because companies have not made it here because of answering that question. And then for everybody's benefit, make sure you separate out what is aspirational about what you've done and are going to do. Because in our heads as founders, we kind of blur those two things together. So we end up with the stuff I've actually done in my MVP and the stuff that's aspirational kind of blend together. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Dan Kihanye for some comments. Dan?
Yeah, so I'm going to stay off video for the time being, but good presentation. And as Dave mentioned, this is floating around a lot of other ideas, and I can introduce you to a friend of mine offline who is kind of way upstream from this, so helping people to manage other life cycle, life stage, basically administration, and so this is a part of it. But one of the big challenges that I kind of set off in my head was, you know, kind of how do you prime the pump for this? Like Dave said, you do have a positive approach, but it's a tough thing, and I know a lot of us have, you know, documents and administration and bureaucracy around our assets and end of life and things like that. So I think it's profound, but I also wonder how you actually get it going. Who's the first group? I mean, nursing homes is a good idea, I think, but it's not really clear to me sort of what's your point of embarkation? And then the other thing is, I think the idea of beyond the United States, I wasn't sure if that was something that you were thinking. Just end of life is treated so very differently around the world, in different cultures, different languages, and so forth. And so I wasn't sure exactly how you were thinking about that, if the US was your market, or you were thinking beyond that.
Okay. Gary Rittner, you want to weigh in?
Yeah. My question is, are you working with any attorneys on this?
So you want to answer? No, not right now. We've reached out to a number, but I don't know if you're an attorney, but they're very slow in getting back to us.
Okay.
And this poses actually a risk to their industry. So that's one of the things that we've noticed, is that a lot of attorneys go around this topic because they know if we disrupt this part of their industry, it could actually hurt their careers, if not their entire businesses. So that's the other thing that we're trying to figure out is are there, you know, attorneys out there who are willing to risk it? But, you know, that has been a challenge.
That's why I asked. Thank you.
Brandon, you and I have talked about this because I've been in this industry space before, trying to do lead gen and affiliate generation and end of life planning. And one of the things that I was thinking about as I was listening to this is sort of where the customer feels value, because the value is really sort of in maybe in doing it and anticipating that other people will experience it. But is there something in the product where you can deliver value during their lifetime that allows them to want to continue to subscribe? You know, because the value of leaving your legacy doesn't just happen after you pass away. Like, it doesn't need to wait. Are there sort of interim moments that you can capture and share where they continue to sort of feel the value and want to continue on the process, continue to subscribe and feel connected to the experience and not isolated? And so I was thinking about that. And then also just sort of, as you were looking at SEO as a you know, point of generation, my experience is that people aren't searching for this in large numbers. So I'd be curious to sort of see if you know, when you do some search terms, where you find good points of entry for bringing people in, because I found that was one of the things that was challenging when we were trying to bring people in on this conversation, is that they're not having it, they're also not searching for it. So that was another sort of flag that I would put out there for you to really sort of figure out.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next is George from Boatzilla. George, you want to share your screen with us?
Hello, everybody. My name is George Sudarkov, and what a time to be doing this. How many of us would love to be on a boat, socially distancing somewhere in the middle of the Puget Sound, right? Boats give us this ultimate feeling of freedom. And yet, according to the National Marine Manufacturers Association and numerous interviews that we've done with our own customers, over 1 million people walked away from this dream of buying a boat since 2005. And this is just a few quotes. You can see people think that this process is broken, something is not right. And according to the same study, and again to our, as well as our own interviews, we found out that it basically boils down to 3 problems. The information about the boats and the condition of the boats online is extremely poor quality online today. The pricing feels almost arbitrary. You can find the same boat, sometimes 3 times more expensive for no apparent reason. And user experience, where do I even start? It feels like most of them are stuck in 1990s. So here's where the Boatzilla comes in. Boatzilla is a platform that provides a process that allows the right buyers connect with the right boats. We provide high quality listings by vetting the boats through history reports and guiding the sellers through a process, scoring their listings, giving them advice on how to improve their listings. We provide a fair price estimate, similar to what Zillow does for houses. And last but not least, we create a modern user experience that online buyers expect from experience today. This is the size of the market. According to the National Marine Manufacturers Association, about 1 million boats are sold in the US today, used boats. Of those, staggering 78% are below $50,000. And this sector is largely not served by the brokerages today because there's simply not enough commission for them. Another important point here, these numbers represent the number of boats sold. Anecdotally, we found that typically about 1/3 of the inventory is sold every year. We believe that by the end of 2023, we'll be able to capture 15% of this market. And this is our business model, freemium. We're kind of still adjusting our thinking about this, but we believe we can achieve 10% conversion rate. And if we charge $492, which is a very competitive subscription fee, by the end of 2023, we'll be able to capture revenue of $5.4 million. This is just to give you an example of how we might achieve this. The advantage is the package that we are driving our customers towards. And as I said, it's a freemium model. Main reason for that being that the vast majority of those under 50,000 boats are listed on Craigslist today. Our team is a phenomenal team to do this. We have a lot of experience in tech. Myself, have 25 years of experience. My previous venture was featured in Oprah magazine, and I built and scaled SRE organization at SurveyMonkey. Jamie, our CXO, has according to her, 9 years of experience in branding, visual design, and user experience. And finally, Christina, 24 years in tech. She managed big projects at Microsoft, Boeing. And fun fact, she wrote code for the shuttle. We seek a connection to an advisor to help us navigate the financial world and prepare for raising capital for the next phase, as well as an introduction to a head of sales. Ideally, somebody familiar with the boating industry.
All right, George. Thanks. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job. All right, so let me give you some feedback and then I'll bounce it to Javier and Dan. So a couple things. So freemium is a marketing tool. Freemium is not a business model. So you're a marketplace. That's your revenue model. So the big thing you didn't answer with the marketplace, which is how do you acquire listings at reasonable economics and scale those up? And then how do you acquire buyers at reasonable economics and scale those up? And they're going to go this way, kind of like a fax machine, right? One fax machine doesn't matter unless I can fax it to somebody else. Some people online are going, what the heck is a fax machine? So I really want you to answer that question. The freemium thing is that's just marketing, right? And at an MVP level, you can't de-feature your product enough to have it be an MVP and de-featured. So just kind of, I'd flip that one and I'd throw that out of the pitch because it doesn't resonate. You also don't address competition. So Craigslist is legit competition. So how are you going to be better than them? I know it's implied in what you're saying, but I'd really like you to be explicit about it. And then your 15% market share isn't realistic and it doesn't really foot with the revenue in 2023. So those couple pieces are kind of broken. The other is just for my buddy Dan, who is an introvert as well. So I would coach you on, for the 5 minutes you have to step out of your comfort zone and be enthusiastic, I would coach you to grab that energy because you can get through the rest of your content with a little bit of pace and enthusiasm. And I know that's completely uncomfortable for my introvert friends on the line, but you don't have to do it very long. And once you do it for 5 minutes, you can be exhausted afterwards. It's totally okay. But at least it gives us a sense of like, you know, oh yeah, he's super excited about it. Because right now I'm not really convinced you're super excited about it, though I know intellectually that you are. So with that, I'll hand it over to my other introvert friend, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Yeah, so I think the energy question, I mean, it's just practice. And my own little hack is it's acting to me. I just put on a mask and I'm the showman. And then I can go back to being myself. So just think about it that way. So I agree with most of what Dave had to say. I feel for you because this is the kind of thing that COVID-19 will hit square in the mouth. I have friends that have been in the boating industry, and it is as high beta, as they say, as can be when times are good and times are bad. So maybe there's going to be a lot of people who are trying to unload their boats at this point. But I think from a marketplace point of view, I think Dave kind of hit the main challenge that I saw, which is the chicken and egg. How do you get users? How do you get people to list, especially who are going to pay to list? So that you have to crack that somehow. So that needs to be really loud and clear in your pitch of like how you're going to approach that. And I kind of read this as kind of being like Zillow for boats. And so Zillow is the real estate industry is pretty massive. So you knew, even if not everybody wanted to use what they had, their bells and whistles, that there was enough. Boating is a little more narrow, and so it's hard to get a sense of, it sounds like you have some really compelling stuff in your platform, but who wants it and why? Who's the person who is desperate? And and I've looked at other marketplaces that competed with Craigslist, and there's definitely opportunities to differentiate, whether it's trust, whether it's information, whether it's facilitating the transaction, maybe you're helping with financing somehow, but it can't just be Craigslist is bad and we need an alternative.
Okay, Javier?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's more or less repeating a lot of stuff. Two things. What makes you unique and compelling? When I have a boat, I have bought boats in second hand. There's a lot of Zillow-like other listings apart from Craigslist. So how are you different from there? That's on one hand. On the other, if you look at this, at the two basic components, which is product development and customer acquisition, what is the risk? I don't think that the risk is in creating Ruby on Rails or other kind of platform technologically that can hold the information. I think that the risk is in the customer acquisition. So that is where you have to put the emphasis. How are you going to get the people to list, and how are you going to get the people to buy? And how are you going to be better than the competition? How are you really unique, compelling, and differentiated from others? If it is through what you said about the fair valuation, because the way you explained very well at the beginning about the asymmetry of information, that creates a lot of disconnect and a lot of lemons being sold at different prices. How do you do a fair valuation? Because the way I have done it as a buyer before is I go to all the listings and I create averages of similar boats of similar years, like you do with a second-hand car. So is it going to be similar? Is that unique? Is that compelling value proposition for a user who's looking for a boat? So those kind of things have to be more grounded, I think, in the pitch. And I would put more hard data. My sense was receiving a lot of assumptions about how this thing works and how this market works. And I would like to have more hard data about customer discovery, about something beyond the statistics of a single source. Something that gives me the impression that, oh my God, I know this thing backwards and forwards.
That's great feedback, Javier. So yeah, I mean, in fact, I would even test out if you could come up with a 4-time-a-year annual subscription to do a valuation on your boat. I bet people would be like, I'll sign up for that, because there's, to Javier's point, there's no data, right? So if you can crowdsource that data and create it, I think you'll have a super sticky product. You can build a marketplace at maturity is really easy. A marketplace at launch is super hard. Like, it's just super hard. All right, so up next is Purposely.
Hey, I'm Siram. Our CEO, Eric Franzo, is going to be doing the presentation today. Eric, are you unmuted? Can you share?
Yep, on here. Let me just share my screen.
Thanks.
We're ready when you are.
Everyone can see my screen?
We just say your name right now. It's going there.
Sharing is paused. Bring your share window to the front.
There you go. You got it. You're ready to go. Go for it.
Okay. 1 second then. Okay, so hi, I'm Eric, founder and CEO of Purposely, along with my two co-founders here, Alex and Gurkaran. So we developed a mutual aid platform that connects those in need with individuals and organizations that are able to help. So why did we build this? We saw an unprecedented rise in mutual aid and essential delivery organizations due to COVID. So nonprofits and grassroots organizations are now lacking the tools to find, track, and coordinate their volunteers and recipients in need. This leads to individuals and families not getting help efficiently and safely, as the current situation lacks safety standards like screening abilities. Our solution is to have public listings with minimally shared information that is mappable and geofenced to increase visibility. And additionally, we provide management systems for the intake and the ability to screen users with trackable activity across the platform. Currently, so our community, we have 7 organizations, 6 in Canada and 1 in the UK. And that organization in the UK has a presence in 15 countries. Since our April 1st beta launch, we've had 900 users join, and they've posted 400 asks and offers on our system. Of our users, so the COVID Care Collective serves 1,500 families that we're currently onboarding, and said we have transformed the way that they work. In Students Against Corona, which serves over 100,000 individuals, they said we simply got it right, and we're onboarding their users as well. So in terms of our market, we have 3 different groups here: volunteers, recipients, and organizations. Our main focus is organizations. So the focus is in Canada and the US as the 2 largest markets for both volunteerism and nonprofit activity. In terms of the total addressable market, we're looking at the volunteers of subsidized food service organizations, so these food delivery organizations, and there are 47.1 million recipients that utilize these services on a monthly basis. It's actually quite heartbreaking that that many people need the services of food banks and other organizations on a monthly basis. Our SAM is excluding younger than 18, as typically they're unable to meet the organization's requirements. Our SAM is exploring what it would look like for 10% of that available market. In terms of our launch, we're looking at our beta reach as we work with early customers, representative of these larger markets. So exceptional timing, basically why us, why now? So in terms of COVID-19 and the impact it had on us, it helped us and allowed us to pivot from a volunteer management and discovery system that because of COVID saw a sharp decrease in events hosted to this mutual aid system that supports new and established organizations. So currently there's been a 20% decrease in subsidized food services with a 27% increase in demand. So this indicates a gap that needs to be filled, and mutual aid groups are hoping to fill this gap. And as a concept, they've been around for years, but never at this scale and at this need. So we're directly in a position to be able to provide immediate impact by utilizing established software and leveraging early feedback around priorities. So in terms of our product, from left to right, our system lets you post and ask offer via an organization or by yourself on a map. You can vet and coordinate your volunteers and recipients, and your user profiles, you have that list the fulfilled offers and requests. So you have the management request, and you have it on the map as well. So in terms of our business model, our primary revenue model is to charge organizations based on the number of volunteers at a variable rate, and to utilize a similar subscription model for businesses as well that have a focus on corporate social responsibility programs. In terms of our customer acquisition, we haven't spent money yet. However, we did do a small test with $100 and had a sign-up rate of 29% for Google Ads. Additionally, we're working with Thrive Digital. So they're the marketing arm for Uber, Meetup, GoFundMe, and they're doing this on a pro bono basis because they support what we do. And they're assisting us with customer acquisition and marketing strategy. On top of this, our retention rate is 42% of users returning to the site for an average of three minutes, just about. And 50% or 56% of offers on the platform are getting fulfilled by the volunteers. So in terms of our long-term viability, kind of the disadvantage and the advantages, we already have a management system in place. So in essence, we were kind of built for this already. And we have early traction and we have direct customer support to be able to give us feedback to build our platform. One potential disadvantage is having to ask customers to migrate to yet another tool. Kind of hear this with various platforms. However, we've been working in the sector, we understand it, and we've built purposely to their needs with a focus on simplicity. So we don't see it as one more tool, but we see it as 3 less tools. To build our moat, we'll leverage the volunteer and recipient base of these established and grassroots organizations. And this idea is to build our network of users, and additionally bring on support.
So nicely done. Sorry, from a pace standpoint, we obviously slowed down a little bit, but yep. I like it. I like the slides. I like the, one thing I would do is I would take your product slide and I would move it up because you lost me a little bit in community, and it reminds me of, I spent 3 years at Startup Weekend, and we had facilitators and we had organizers and we had attendees and we had sponsors, and like you, there's, anytime you're doing a community platform, you have multiple people involved. So I would take your product slide, give me a story arc of the use case up early, because then the other pieces kind of fall in naturally, but you kind of lost me at the community slide. I was like, I get it, community slide. And then product came back later. So I just swapped the order. I think that'll go smoother for you. It'll have to flow. The other is make sure you really distinguish early on and then be consistent around, we have users, we have organizations, because otherwise you blend all those together and your audience will get lost. Like, am I a user or am I an organization or am I a sponsor or am I a giver? So when you name those things, be very deliberate when you name them, because otherwise people will get confused. Elena, I'm going to bounce it over to you for some feedback.
Hey, Eric, thank you. I think for me, the biggest piece that I was kind of missing is understanding, or left wondering how people are going to find the site. You know, that you've built a beautiful product, but how am I as a volunteer going to know that it's there enough that it would warrant me as an organization wanting to pay the price of being listed on there? That would be kind of my biggest biggest question even as a user of how it's going to be found.
Okay. Dan, I'm sorry, Brett, Eddie?
Yeah, you bet. So one of the first things I found myself saying is this, what is this? You know, so I initially heard the COVID, and I think that you had a great opportunity to make a strong, heartfelt point, get us in as humans, and then share how the world is better because of this. So this was an interesting thing that we don't normally get in 6-month startup. So I just popped over as you were presenting, and I looked at your website and I said, oh my gosh, they're there. You built something. So Dave's point of move those to the front, I 100% agree with, in that you have a very compelling platform. So which also is to both your blessing and your curse, which is, how's it going? So if you've been up there for a year and it's cost you money and you have 12 users, that's not a great story, not a good product market fit. So I'd like to know, what is your product market fit? But I think that you probably have some interesting, compelling stories there. The deck looks fantastic. I would like to see what your specific ask is, what your roadmap is. And at the end of the day, from an investor perspective, what is my return on investment can be with you? Because I keep wondering, is this a nonprofit play? Is this a heart play, a social action play? Or if an investor drops 1x in there, are they going to get 100x return? I'm having a hard time seeing that it could be a really compelling financial play. So I think it's a B Corp type play, but you might be able to really incentivize with some foundations or some family foundations that could be really enamored by the vision. So there's opportunity there, but really know your investor audience as much as you need to know your customer audience.
Yeah, I double down on Brett's point there too, Eric, is I think if you show me where it's a big idea at the very front with the product and traction, I'll listen to the rest of it as is it a B Corp? But selling to nonprofits, there's a lot of money in selling to nonprofits. There's not a lot of money in being a nonprofit, but you know, just address that question at the front end because it'll help. When I start asking questions about your deck, when I'm going through the deck, I'm not paying attention to what you're saying. So if there's an elephant in the room, address the elephant. So awesome. All right, next up is Jeff at Tide House.
All right, bear with me here.
Alrighty. How's everybody doing? This is your chance to get up and stretch. Yay. No, sorry.
Yeah, everyone leave the room.
No, they're going to have them be back in the room before you started. So
here we go. Yeah, right.
All right, go for it.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Jeff Donnelly. I'm the founder of Tide House. Tide House is a vendor relationship management platform. It's very similar to a customer relationship management platform, but allows the customer to dictate what data is relevant. So over the last few years, there's been a lot of talk around the last mile of the internet, being that the brick and mortar or the small business finally gets online and starts marketing online. The problem here is that the internet is the first place people turn for information, but the brick and mortar retailers just suck at online marketing. It's really hard for them to market online. Why is this a problem? In a free market society, you would think, you know, the best competitor will adapt and crush the little guy. Well, the problem is in advertising, the customer's life happens offline. It doesn't happen online. So only about 11.4% of retail sales is actually online. So if this truly is the last mile, that means that the rest of the race was only about 535 feet. So our product, we think that online marketing should be just as simple as it is offline. So the brick and mortar retailer, they go into business because they're a consumer first. They then set up shop, get a phone, and open their doors and wait for people to come to them. So the customer truly owns the customer journey. So our product is designed for the business to connect with their customer, and then the customer can set their preferences and begin to receive alerts directly from the business. And vice versa, the customer can also send alerts to the business on things that they want to purchase in the future. The way that we make money is a subscription service. It's going to work a lot like a telephone. So the business will pay a monthly subscription, and then they'll also pay for the alerts that are sent back and forth between them and their customer. So why now? Well, the algorithm has become a household name, but we also understand as an individual that the algorithm serves their owner first and foremost. You know, we're pretty trustworthy of Amazon. About 50% of purchases begin on Amazon, but even Amazon is opening brick and mortar retailers. Facebook, they've ruined our trust with a company called Cambridge Analytica. And Google, about 50% of searches result in no click, and we don't really have any transparency on where those clicks go. So it's hard, even if you're the best forensic analyst on web traffic, to figure out how to optimize your website to get that traffic to crush the offline market. Our go-to-market strategy, we're going to go after those offline retailers that provide some kind of venue space. I have background in network into breweries, and from there, specialty retailers. If you look at those two sort of categories, the thing that they have in common is that their customers' lifestyle depends on their existence. Now, as we scale up, there's 1 million retailers in the US. And if you look at a vertical, we're probably most similar to a multi-channel marketing hub that acts in the reverse, again, where the customer directs the relevance of their data. And that currently is about a $32 to $35 billion market. The moat that we're looking to kind of carve out for ourselves is really going to be a race to that critical mass. And then once we have that curated human bias and a product that keeps anyone from wanting to leave, we really want to become the filter layer between mixed realities. So right now we have the application stacks online. The brick and mortar was the original application. And we view them really as the same thing. Oops, sorry, I didn't know I had this. Come on. Sorry about that. Still going. So right now I am currently developing the MVP so that I can get some traction and hire the developers that I've sold to help me on this that just don't have the time to do it for free. So my ask is, you know, it's a long first mile ahead for me. Again, in MVP development, I'm not really prepared to raise money, but want to see what kind of interest is out there for later on down the road. Thank you. Awesome, thanks.
You're right at 5 minutes. So a couple of things I would do about swapping the order on stuff, Jeff, is your pitch would benefit by a use case story arc that then talks about what the secret sauce is in the back end. Right now, you're leading with secret sauce, and I'm honestly confused. Right? So, 'cause I just don't know. There's a bunch of places it could happen. It might happen. So pick one use case. Tell your story in the context of that use case, and then tease out secret sauce. Like here's why the algo matters. But right now I start with an algo, and I think you're going to go one direction, and then you went a different direction, and you went to SMB, and SMB scares me as an investor. So those things are always ones that I'm like, yeah, those are hard, because selling to SMBs, they're not good at tech. They don't know how to use an API, right? So there's a bunch of it left me with more questions about like, what are you going to do, versus leaving me with questions around like, oh, I totally get it. How do I write a check? So, Gary Rittner, you want to weigh in?
Dave, you hit the nail right on the head. Your comments were great. My only other comment would be that it sounds like you're a one-man show, and when you go out and raise money, that's not going to work. You're going to need a partner. But Dave, you had a great comments.
Okay. Elena? Oh, Elena ducked out. Never mind. Minda?
Yeah, I building on what Dave and Gary said, when you got to the part where you said breweries, I said, maybe framing this around sort of breweries and giving that story arc around like how this helps a brewery, and this is the wedge, and then this is how this helps all SMBs, or something like that. Because I found the whole thing very theoretical. And also the use of sort of the proposal of this was going to be about last mile was also confusing, because I think of that as a delivery and operational term these days. So that was also, again, I was sort of unsure where you were going when you would say algorithm or last mile. I think there is a really big opportunity in the fact that online and offline are blending. I just think that taking your ideas and understanding from, it sounds like having been a consultant, and really narrowing in on one thing you can do exceedingly well for one, customer that gives you a wedge in to be able to build out would be a more sort of compelling and interesting journey for me to want to get excited about. Because I can tell you have a broader set of ideas and vision. I'm just looking for like, where is that wedge? Where's that starting point that shows me that you can build some traction? Because again, SMB is a really difficult market. When you tell me that there's going to be an API involved, I think, oh boy, here we go. Like that is a really tough fit. So telling me how you are successful or could be successful starting out with a really specific solution would be very interesting.
So let me land that, because it's for everybody. If you're thinking about selling to SMB and you're creating a product that nobody knows you're looking for, it requires that you have an outbound sales process, which means you need salespeople, which also means that you have to pay to get those people, because you can't hire interns, right, to stick them out against the wall. So you need a scalable sales process. So to have a scalable sales process, you need to have at least $2,500 a year in annual recurring revenue, because it's really hard to hire a sales team, pay them commission, pay them salaries, pay their benefits, pay for seats, and not have a minimum $2,500 price point. So when you go out and validate this with SMBs, the question is it something they value so highly? And by the way, 2,500 is a heuristic based on a bunch of data that I put together. There's no hard and fast rule to it, but it can't be $240 a month or $240 a year. It has to be, $200, $240 a month. So if you can't validate that, then I would question whether that's the right, SMB may be the right market, but you may say, we're starting with breweries first, then we're going to this. So good job, way to put it together. All right, next up is Revitus.
Okay, so let me get my things in here. One little lesson for everybody on this is you'll get a nice example of why you do not have your finance guy make your slide presentation.
Way to set
it all up. Right, because mine is about 20 years dated compared to all the fancy stuff I saw everybody else's, but my content's still good, so I'm good with that. All right, so you let me know when we're ready. I think my screen is being shared.
Yep, you're set.
All right, so my name is Ron, and I'm representing the company called Revitus.fit, and Revitus uses an exercise protocol called high intensity training, or HIT, to build fitness with minimal risk for injury. I want to first open by telling you about Keith. Over 20 years ago, when he was in a motorcycle accident, severely weakening his neck and back, which resulted in frequent massive headaches. Years of treatment from chiropractic or and acupuncture and other such things gave him limited relief. And exercise programs he tried would at best provide temporary relief, but often would result in further injury. HIT gave him the pain relief he needed and greatly improved his strength. Now, Keith is not unique. For millions of Americans, accidents, genetics, or even simply age prevent them from effectively using things like high-energy body stress fitness programs such as CrossFit. Many can't make the time commitment of 4 to 6 hours a week as well for such programs. Our solution is designed for people who, well, I skipped my whole screen here because my keyboard isn't working. Okay, here we go. So here's all my stuff here. Our solution is for people who want to be CrossFit healthy, but are unable to actually do CrossFit or any of the multiple of other similar workout programs. However, it's just as effective for anybody, and it takes only 20 minutes a week to achieve results. Revitus will provide personalized exercise regimens in a private studio with all workouts led by a personal trainer certified in the exercise protocol. We will utilize state-of-the-art equipment that is already being manufactured in the US by ARX. These are high-tech machines, third generation, built off the Nautilus Foundation. They include computerized tracking with cloud-based software to track performance and progress, map out next steps, ensuring that the individual receives a workout specifically tailored to his or her performance level. Users can even access the results on their personal devices. While we have not yet opened a studio, we do have 12 plank owners who have prepaid for an initial package of workouts, as well as about 50 more individuals that are waiting for us just to open our doors. We have friends and neighbors who are currently completing a 120-mile round trip each week to go to a studio that, while similar, lacks the modern equipment, atmosphere, or full protocol that we will offer, but is the closest option they have today. Fit20 is a European company that has opened 120 studios like this in the Netherlands. If we give the equivalent penetration rate in the United States, there are about 2,300 such studios in this country. Right now, there are less than 10% of that number of studios in America, and many of those studios are single businesses. Many of these studios are quite successful, with some of them charging as much as $90 per session while operating at full capacity. If we consider a conservative potential client pool of about 250,000 people in America, we capture just 10% of those, we would generate about $85 million a year and $40 million in net operating revenue. This exercise protocol was developed in the 80s and has been slowly gaining mindshare in America. Many studios have been operating for decades, but they are run by people who are typically good at fitness training, but not good business owners. So while they could increase the number of studios they operate, they do not recognize this as a great business opportunity. We recognize it as a great business opportunity. And the time is right, we think, to push Revitus to the mainstream before other players capture market share. Our plan is to begin with 3 studios in the local area, and these locations have sufficient number of target clients as to enable us studio to be successful. It takes 52 clients to make a studio break even, and after 4 years or 5 years, we expect a 5.5 million annual revenue with a 2 million operating revenue. We've done extensive research and met with pioneers of the system. Our knowledge is extensive, and our founders and early investors have used the HIT protocol for years. Our competition are trainers, not businessmen, and our plan is to build a business with a solid brand, develop customer loyalty by focusing on trainers who create excellent rapport with their customers. We provide both a high-tech and high-touch approach to give our customers something to brag to their friends about. Our team with Tom Moreland as CEO with 40 years business experience, Stuart Davidson, a master's degree in economics, and Ron Cody with a master's in finance. What we're looking for is capital, a mentor to help get our program off the ground, and in about 3 years, a GM to help us take this product national. And one thing I'd like to say in closing is Boeing transformed aviation. Microsoft made the personal computer a household necessity. Starbucks made the latte a worldwide sensation. Costco and Amazon have redefined shipping. Revitus will redefine how people get fit.
All right. So, I wanted to breathe for you. Just
yes.
So super uncomfortable because I wanted to breathe for you. So don't do that again. Because you can get rid of a bunch of content and still make your point. You circled around it a couple times. The other thing is if you came to me as an investor and you had businessmen on your slide, I would blow you out. Just so you know. Because
I'm not certain I understand what you just said.
Well, let me tell you. So we have business people, but we don't have businessmen. We have diverse and inclusive talent. We have diverse and inclusive teams. So just regretfully, some of the nomenclature just needs to change. You got to get updated, right? So I don't know if you're a platform to do, which really scares me because at launch you're never a platform. I don't know if you're equipment layer that sits above the equipment. I don't know if you're a franchise. Like I need you to pick. Like you can't get to those numbers unless you're going to probably be a franchise, and the amount of money you're going to need to raise to do them if you own them all is freakishly huge, right? So yeah, I don't like. I want you to pick what business model you're gonna be. Are you an app with a subscription? Are you we're gonna stand up 77 locations in Washington State? like I walked away from the pitch going, I'm just not clear. So those are the kind of the first ones that come to me. I'm going to bounce this to Katie next.
Hey, Ron, thanks. And interesting your work. I mean, fitness is as relevant as ever. And so I appreciate that you've been working on this for a long time, Shirley, and even though I'm just meeting you, and we've all been home for 9 weeks and there are no shops to go to right now and have a private lesson. And so I just kind of wonder, on one hand, it's great to present and, you know, and talk about so much hard work that's gone into it. And this is still sort of real life. And it sounds like something you're really working on. And so I wonder if there could be information like, here's what we're working on. Here's the interim plan that we can learn while we're at home, or, you know, or while half the world is closed, and here's where we take it. Because part of what you ended with was like, you know, basically here's the future of fitness. And the future of fitness only talked about physical locations right now with big machines that people touch. So I think there's an opportunity there to talk about the future of fitness in the new wild world of germs and viruses.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the success of Peloton, there's a narrative arc there. Javier, you want to add?
Yes, my only addition would be that I really didn't understand the pitch. So I'm a huge believer in making things as explicit as possible and treat people as dumb as possible. Because when you are seeing a lot of pitches, etc., your IQ level begins to lower, and mine especially. So all that I got was that this is like a gym. I mean, you have machines, you have a physical location, you have a customized recipes, etc. But that's because that's what gyms do. So I couldn't understand what is unique and compelling as compared to the competition. You say that it's about trainers and not business. Is that then that you are able to squeeze operational efficiencies that gyms today cannot do? It's like these restaurants of salads that they have a huge turnaround and they serve thousands and thousands of salads in a very small square footage. Is that it? In that case, do it, prove it, and then replicate the formula. But I wasn't clear. And there's a lot of information missing. It's like, do people want to go to a gym because they want to brag about the gym? I don't know. If someone goes 120 miles to go to a gym, is there a reason why they go through such a pain to get there? So all those questions that keep on popping up in my head, you should be able to squash them in the head beforehand by framing the narrative in the messaging more concisely and more clearly, I think.
Okay, great. Yeah, I definitely address competitively the headwinds right now. If I look at Peloton success, and by the way, I'm a huge fan, right? And the fact that you paid $2,000 for a bike with one wheel versus I think I paid only slightly more for my my road bike. But you know, you need to talk about it in context of what's going on in the market today as well. So I think those would be helpful changes as well. All right.
If I can add something,
Yeah,
I'm also an investor in a platform or in an app that provides personalized routines for exercise at home. So it's like, that is the new world that is coming, is the online at home or complementary to the gym. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be happening there. So that's much more interesting than facilities, machine-based, I think.
All right, so David, you're up with Music Scene next.
I wasn't expecting that.
You're there, you're up.
Hey guys, I'm David Shannon. I don't have a copy of my pitch. It wasn't sent to me, and I don't have a deck. You guys know me because I've been talking about doing live streaming music and virtual reality for the last couple of years. And now all of the venues that I've been networking with are shut down, and I'm working to try to help them survive and thrive in a post-COVID world. So I just wanted to send that message out to you guys, let you know what's up, and that's what I'm working on.
Okay. All right, David, thanks. Aniket?
Hello, can you hear me?
You can. I'm going to share your screen there.
Yeah, give me a second. Okay, is that visible?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So RealityVerse, we're working on increasing productivity of deskless workers. Let's get started. What is the problem? If you look at the current productivity softwares, they're all designed for information workers. So there's a lack of like a targeted solution for deskless workers, and that's resulting in a productivity loss and subpar employee experience and a high turnover. The reason is like it's pretty hard to do on-field knowledge capture, remote collaboration, and wayfinding in the context of a deskless worker, because they involve spatial workflows. What I mean by spatial workflows is that when you're using your hands and you're in a physical space out there, our technologies like Asana, Trello that we usually use are not meant for that kind of a user scenario. And customers are actually paying for like around $50 to $100 per user for those suboptimal solutions, which are designed for information work. What is our solution? With the latest in augmented reality and spatial computing, we want to merge physical and digital spaces to boost the current productivity by an average of 18%. There have been like multiple user studies with Boeing and other companies where we have seen productivity increase. So how do we do this? We create spatial anchors which tie to physical points to their actual physical workspaces. And we tie this spatial anchors to contextual information and work orders, and eventually build like a dynamic digital twin. And we also work on like remote collaboration, so that you can bring an expert on the field and also help you in wayfinding if you want to reach a particular spatial anchor. What is the market? It's a really huge market because we're dealing with deskless spatial workers. Deskless workforce is around 2.7 billion people. And if you look at the people who work in the spatial aspect of deskless, they're around 1.5 billion people. And if you're able to like capture $5 of monthly value for like the whole globe, then the TAM is like at $90 billion. But looking at just the launch product, it's kind of like around 65,000 users that I've estimated that could target the minimum viable product, and leading us to like a revenue of $78 million when the product is out there in 2 or 3 years. So here I have like a prototype which we built to make things clear. So these are various workspaces that spatial work is working on. They start with scanning a particular workspace, and after scanning, it gives them a list of tasks in the space itself, and also a list. They can tap on one particular task, click on wayfinding, and then it will lead them to that particular spatial anchor. After reaching a spatial anchor, they can look up the information about that spatial anchor, who has worked on it, what is the sensor information saying, and put some comments in there, update the task, and set it as done. Yeah, let's hop to the next slide. So timing, this is an important slide for me because timing is really important here, because there's augmented reality going mainstream right now. Like if you look at an iPad, they got a LiDAR camera in there. And there's also rumors that an iPhone will also have a LiDAR camera. This makes augmented reality and spatial computing really great on all these devices. And there are already 1 billion devices out there with augmented reality with AR Core and AR Kit. Their success in an enterprise domain, like Microsoft with HoloLens, has found success in AR, but not in the consumer space. And also, if you look at Magic Leap, they're also pivoting towards enterprise. There's a race to build the AR cloud, which will benefit our platform. Like Facebook is working on AR cloud, and they have publicly announced it. They're also working on AR glasses. 5G would really make this experience better, where people can like kind of bring the 3D assets like CAD files into their environment. And then the IoT devices are getting sophisticated, so we can feed this information live depending upon the IoT sensor data. And then social distancing is just kind of gearing us more towards remote collaboration. So the business model is, as we mentioned before, like we're capturing the value, and the value we're creating is by productivity, which is increasing by approximation of like 18%, which is approximately like $300 per month for a minimum wage worker. So if we can capture 20 to 40% of it, this is kind of like $60 to $120 per month. And this is kind of close range to.
I'm gonna stop you there because you're at 5. So good job. A couple things I would do on the slides. One is I would get to less words because they're super dense and I feel like you're reading them to me, and that never works because I'll focus on the slides and read them, and then I'll get in front of you and I'll lose track of where you're going. So you'll benefit from doing that. I also would put your demo up to the front because it anchors what you're trying to do, and then the words, how you define a desk-based worker can be defined from somebody who works at the Tesla plant to somebody who's works at a brewery. So I think narrowing that use case will be super helpful. And then Minda, I'm gonna bounce it to you and then to Brett.
I have an embarrassing admission that I was multitasking.
Oh, okay. Brett, I'm gonna bounce it to you and then Javier. Brett?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are.
Okay, good. So I was using Javier's spacebar, but it didn't work. Darn you, Javier. So the interesting thing on the deskless workers is you created this variable, and I can almost believe it. But if you, at the very beginning, define the problem, but give me an actor. Dave has mentioned story arc before, so give me an actor in a scenario where the productivity goes up because of the problem that worker identifies, and then potentially your solution. Later on, you kept using a very specific number of 18%, but I'm not a believer yet. So if you haven't built it, how can you validate the 18%? So unfortunately, by being so specific, you're creating some doubt in my mind. I think that you're talking about helping out a very sexy space of using AR and IoT. However, if you're going after the B2C, I didn't know if this solution was for a B2C play or an enterprise B2B with a wealthy, a very healthy budget from a productivity perspective from that company. So simply because Microsoft is creating the HoloLens and then you have the Oculus investment, those are expensive devices. So, the large companies are only going to pay for those for a certain number of their audience. That being said, you might be on the very cutting edge of something that's coming along. So the intersection between the physical productivity and the digital virtual productivity, we're doing that as we speak. I mean, we are all not together. We're all collaborating about this topic online. So you have a very powerful potential beginning, but I think if you really targeted something specific, a specific problem to solve, you might have a first mover advantage.
Yeah, and I want to echo a comment from Dan Kihania here. The market in your TAM slide is way too big. In fact, I think your TAM is probably the 78 million or the 78 million that you mentioned in your LAM, because it's really and they have to be able to buy it now, right? So Dan's comment there is in the notes. So Javier, I'll bounce it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Use case at the beginning, because I was guessing at the beginning what was this exactly about and how can it be applied. The product has, to me, looks like there's some product risk because it looks like a complex solution with different just a second. Oh my God, I just lost my thing. Oh, here it is. Because it has many different parts. So does it work? Are you sure it works? I have seen other companies, other startups in different specific verticals, and it's very hard for this thing to work, which gets me to the next thing, which is minimum wage workers and AR. It's like, are people who are minimum wage workers going to gel with AR and solutions based in IoT, etc.? How do you know that? And that gets to what Dan also was kind of referring to in terms of customer segmentation. Who's this for? Does it work for everything? Can you specialize in one vertical? Can you get a foothold on something and then begin to pull from that rope? Because I see open questions on the product, can it be done? And in the customer acquisition, who and can it be done?
Great. Well, hey, we've got about 15 minutes left. So let me give you some parting thoughts around what I want you to work on next as your congratulations. For many of you, you've endured 6 months and a really weird 6 months. And exactly, it's huge. It's a huge shout out and a clap. You're on now a window in the next 6 months that you need to decide to double down or kill it, right? So the challenge of being in the first 6 months is in the first 6 months, you have to figure out whether this idea is worth pursuing or not. I'm not a fan of fail fast. Now, a lot of you have heard me say that before. I'm a fan of kill bad ideas. Use what you've learned to apply to the next idea, right? Use the disciplines and the infrastructure you built and the muscles you built around customer development to go prove that data. But usually for almost all the startups that I work with, there's usually one big thing you need to answer next, right? But asking yourself that question honestly as the founder is really hard, especially if you only have one idea, because you're loath to shut it down. So with COVID, I would say, normally this speech says you have 90 days. If in 90 days you're not making traffic, or you're not making progress, you need to kill it. So I would stage it for you this way. You now have 6 months because COVID's weird. So the rules have changed, right? But if in the next 30, if the anniversary of this, mid-month next month, you haven't made progress, you haven't done customer development interviews, your product's not further along, you haven't built a product roadmap, right? You haven't done more customer development research, you haven't talked to 5 new customers. If you haven't done those things, that's a probably good early indication in your heart that you don't believe in the idea and it's not big enough for you to pursue. And at such point, I would say, park it, right? Go work on a different idea. So I would rather have you kill a bad idea fast than have you take out a second mortgage on your house and leave your day job and have an idea fail. The reason I think that 75% of startups fail is we as founders fail to ask hard questions about our ideas in advance. So rather than wait for us as investors to ask you hard questions, I would encourage you to ask the hard questions of yourselves. Second is you have a great group of people around you, from mentors and collaborators and people that have been participants with you. Use this network to go ask the hard questions. And I always like to ask them on customer development interviews, so that you haven't heard me talk in person, is the last question I always want to ask is, if this idea was to fail, why would it fail? And the question is, do you want to know now or do you want to know in 6 months? I want to know now. If this is a bad idea, I want to know because I want to go work on something else that I can be successful at. So that's why I bring up the $2,500 to sell to SMBs, because I launched a product once and found out that we had to do a sales force to do it because nobody knew the product existed and nobody was searching for it online. So know that there's a community around you. You can reach out. We're going to kick this off again July 1st. Based on the poll, it looks like it'll be 6 p.m. by the way, so you know the results of the poll. So we'll be doing that starting July 1st again, and a couple other notes about that. So I polled some of you earlier in the season about the new branding. The end result was we're naming it Trajectory Series, and it's gettrajectory.com. So Get Trajectory will be now the new website for it. I've repointed the 6 month startup to that. So, and we'll be moving the meetup group to Get Trajectory and the Trajectory Series. For those of you who've asked me separately, I'll answer it all in one time, is I'm currently with an editor. He's on page 170 of 215. I'm on page 70, so I'm a little ways behind him. And thanks to Brett for help on negotiating with the publisher. I'm super close to signing a book deal with a publisher. And since I'm stuck at home, I may as well finish the damn thing. So, which is awesome. So, so that's the new brand. We'll start again July 6th, or July 1st, sorry. If you have friends, or if you want to come take it again, we're gonna run the whole thing virtual. Happy to have you back. And with that, I just want to say thank you for the mentors. So Brett and Elena and the Kitsap team. Thank you, John and Chase for being mentors there, and Katie, Katie, Javier, Dan, Nick Ellington's on the line as well from WTIA for being a sponsor. Minda, Gary, I know how to jump off, and for Perkins being a sponsor. So I'm happy to hang out and for a few minutes as well and hang out with you all. But I just wanted to say thank you all. You inspire me every day. Dan's heard me say this as I talk to other folks, is I love being in a room with a group of founders, because they all look around the room and know that 75% of the people will fail, and they all believe it, that all that math doesn't apply to them. Right? That's why I love you, because you're just slightly delusional, but every idea is slightly crazy, right before it works. So I want you just to balance that out. Like if I hear from you in a year and you say, oh, I doubled down and put a second mortgage on my house, I'll be like, I hope you did like 50 customer development interviews first. So that's kind of those. Brett, Elena, any parting comments from you all?
No, I just wanted to say, well done, Kitsap team. It's great to take this opportunity. A whole lot of pearls of wisdom were delivered by the Seattle mentors, so we get a double dose of help. So thank you, Seattle folks, for sharing your time and your experience. It's super appreciated.
Yeah, ditto. I'm actually, if you talk about silver linings, I'm delighted that we've actually moved to this kind of combined setup between the two cohorts in Seattle and in Kitsap. So I'm excited for the next round.
Great. Javier, Katie, Dan, any comments from you all?
No, the only thing is that I have seen, I think that it's a fantastic job, the one that of the pitches. The thing that you have to understand that the first thing that I look at as an investor is always ask myself, how are these customers solving this problem right now? And how does this compare to them, to this new process or this new solution, to how do we do this thing now? And what is the human element? What is the human psychology? What is the human interaction? So even if now we are doing a lot of startups with technology, humans are the factor, are the X, are the single most important thing. It's all about the humans. So don't forget about why and how, and what is the added value, what is the value proposition, all those things around the customer and around the human.
Yeah, I would just add, again, great job, Dave. Thanks for putting this together and staying so dedicated to it. But also for the startups, yeah, good job. Just be relentless about information, feedback. Use each other. I mean, this is a really interesting group. Use each other to call bullshit on something that you're doing. As Dave, the basic theme of what Dave was saying is find out sooner than later. With enough resources and time, if you really have a great opportunity, you'd figure it out. But you don't have infinite resources and time. So learning is the most valuable resource that you can acquire. And to accelerate that is what you want to do. That helps you to find product market fit, helps you to find product market misfit, if that's what it is. But speed of learning is really the superpower and the muscle you want to develop.
Katie?
Yeah, I'll just say briefly, Dave, thanks for including me in this. I just always learn so much. It's such a pleasure to see also just so many faces that I know. It's nice, great to be part of this ongoing community. And I've been thinking more and more that one of the most valuable things that we all have or could have is an audience. And everybody who is here, just is listening through a caring mind looking for success. And that's just so amazingly valuable, like such a safe space. And kudos to everybody who's put in so much work to presenting tonight and like do that as many more times as you can. There's just so much learning in saying it out loud and trying to explain something and answer all the questions. It's just, like, I don't know. I mean, as a performer, there's just something that happens when you're like on stage in front of people. You learn about yourself in a way that it's just not the same when you do a dry run through at home alone. So yeah, so keep performing. It's worth it.
Linda?
Yeah, one of the things that as I've kind of crossed the chasm from being a startup operator into this investor role is I really value the education component of learning the investor mindset. And so even if you never plan to write a check as an investor, learn to be one. Go, you know, really dive into like Brad Feld's venture deals and really understand it, because I think then when you turn your lens back on your own opportunity and see it as something that if you do want to package it up and sell equity, not everyone does, not everyone should, but if that is your goal, then when you look back at your own opportunity, you can see it differently than your business plan that's going to work and you're excited, and you instead see how you might package that as an investment product. And so I would really encourage everyone to learn to think like an investor by really going after it. Sort of imagine a 25K check on the table that you would write, and would you write that check? And what questions would you be asking? Where would you be drilling down on? Those are the things that I've really sort of come to appreciate and would want to encourage all founders to be able to really understand that side.
Great. Thanks, everybody. I think the last thing I'll leave you with is we, as a family office fund, I manage a family office fund in Bellevue. And one of the things we consistently see is we continue to invest in our founders, regardless of market circumstances, in the founders that set reasonable expectations and goals and milestones and predictably hit them. Right? What we don't invest in is when somebody has this really crazy ass goal, like, and every idea is totally crazy before it happens. I totally get that. But what you can forecast is what can you get done in the next 30 days? What can you get done in the next 6 months? So if you set quarterly milestones and you're progressively hitting them, and it's a big market and you're making progress, you may find an investor who believes in you the same way. If you aren't hitting milestones, it's a sign for you to drop the idea. So don't be a wantrepreneur, be an entrepreneur. And we're big fans of how we increase the quality of entrepreneurs in Seattle. So with that, I'll tell you cheers. Have a good night. Thanks very much. Thanks everybody for being part of it, and can't wait to see the next steps.
Thanks, Dave.
You bet. Take care, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Dave.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
You bet.
Thanks so much, everybody. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.